My brother Frederick would come and see me occasionally. I never really could talk to him very much, at least not for long, ever since it happened. My name is James Bernstein, and I'm going to share with you a story, but before you listen, you have to know that everything I say, whether it's real or not, depends on whether you listen. And maybe, just maybe, if you believe, you'll understand why I am the way I am. I remember the first time I ever went on vacation. Ma and Pa, they both wanted to take us kids somewhere special. So they thought, maybe, just maybe, that special place could be Disney World. Well, at the time, Disney World was huge. Everyone and the mother's been there, and every one of my friends have. They say it's fun, the rides are amazing, and that there's no other place in the world like it. Well, that was what I used to think. We arrived at Disney World. There was lots of people there. And for some odd reason, I don't know why, but as soon as I walked into the gate, I felt like a weight was on my shoulders, as if something was pulling me to the ground. Not very hard, of course, but still noticeable. There was plenty of fun rides there. I especially liked the roller coasters. A couple hours went by, and Ma and Pa got hungry, and so did my brother and sister. They decided to go get something to eat. Since I was the oldest, I was allowed to go off by myself. I was only 13 at the time, and, of course, I still feel like a kid inside. I was walking down the main block when this man came up to me and said, "Boy, you're lucky number 7, you know that? Lucky you, you're the 7th kid that's gone through this boardwalk in the last hour. Now, you have to understand this is an adult area, right?" I looked at the man, and I couldn't understand what he meant. Just then I looked around and there was no other kids. At least not kids my age, kids that were taller and bigger like Ma and Pa. Of course, I didn't understand that I had walked into the adult section of Disney World. The man looked at me and said, "Come this way with me. I'm gonna take you back to your parents. What's their name, son?" Their names? I think Pa's name is Don. I don't know Mom's name. We don't ever really call our parents by their names. The man looked at me. "Son, you're telling me that you're here in Disney World by yourself and you don't know where your family is?" "Yes, sir. I was supposed to meet them at a certain time, but I'm allowed to ride rides. See, I have my wrist strap here." He nodded. He then spoke to me. "Son, you do realize that it's dangerous to walk around this park, especially by yourself at a young age?" I asked him, "Why? Why is it so bad, mister?" He just stared at me. He offered to take me with him in hopes to find my parents, but I decided to go off and ride some more rides. Of course, being a kid that time, I lost track of short term of what had happened, so I forgot again that I was in the adult section. Of course, he realized that I was 13 years old. I am 5'5", however, and I'm very tall for my age. I do have a baby face, though, so maybe they wouldn't have noticed me. Maybe that's the reason why. Or maybe they just knew that he wanted me. I had rode some more rides that say you had to be so and so tall. They were fun but scary, but then again, it wasn't as scary as some things, especially now. I was walking around the park when I noticed there was a room. Just a room embedded into the side of the park. I couldn't make heads or tails of it. I didn't know why it was there. But the door was cracked open, and there was no light coming out of it. So, being a 13-year-old, I had an adventurous spirit. So I walked up to the door. The door read, "Enter at your own risk." Ignoring the words, I walked in, shutting the door behind me. Of course, I thought I would get in trouble, and after noticing the lock, I had locked the door, hoping that it would keep people out, considering that we do not have locks, considering that they always keep my sister out of my room. I walked down what seemed to be a very long hall. It was also a staircase that I eventually came to. It was very long, and the light was very, very dim. There was little dim lights that lined up the entire ceiling of the hall, and all the way down the staircase. Staircase felt like it took forever to go down. It must have been at least 3 flights. Now that was curious. Why was there 3 flights of stairs inside of this small itty-bitty room? I mean, the hallway was only about 10 feet long. There really wasn't really meaning of having this here. The lights got a little dimmer as I kept on walking down what is now a long hallway under what could only be stories of Disney World. There was doors. Doors that, for some odd reason, marked names of fellow Disney characters. Doors that are plated with what looked like to be Disney character names. I always used to love watching the Mickey Mouse show. The original cartoon, before there was color, and even after. Of course, I never watched Disney anymore. There was all sorts of different doors with different names. Names from Aladdin, names from Snow White to the 7 Dwarfs. The doors just kept going on. I kept on rating them off. Cinderella, Goofy. It even went on to say simple words like Pluto, the dog. I kept on going down, and the hallway just never seemed to end. It was really disturbing. However, back then, I didn't have any reasoning for that until I saw one door. And, of course, it was across the hall of my favorite, and I mean my absolute favorite, character from Disney. Mickey Mouse, in bold text on the door. Of course, there was a door across the hall, but I never got to read it. At least not then. I don't know what's in it. I never did know what was in it. Not a sound could be heard down there. Or so I thought. I opened the door. It opened pretty easily. It wasn't very hard to open at all. I walked inside, and there was no light. Not a big surprise, actually. I kept on walking, and the only light that can come out was the light peeling in from the outside into the room. I was trying to make out some of the things in there. It was a small, boxed-in room, and there were even more doors. Of course, I never got to open any of them. I looked around, and I looked up to see a sign. The sign read, Mickey's Clubhouse. Mickey's Clubhouse, I thought to myself. That's an odd name, considering now that there's a show called Mickey Mouse's Clubhouse. But it didn't come out until the 21st century. This was back in the 90s. I furthermore went on to move my hands around and see if I can find something. Of course, there were interesting instruments in there. Scissors and odd things. Things that I wouldn't expect in Mickey's Clubhouse. There were knives. No, you heard me right. I said knives. And not just any knives. Old knives. Knives that you'd get from Pa's safe. I picked it up and one of them was stained. I don't know to this day what was on that knife, but the odd thing is that I know it wasn't blood, at least not human blood. I heard a shuffling sound behind me, and I quickly turned. There was nothing there, just the light peeling in from the door that was still open to the hallway. After that, I was sort of scared. I yelled out, "Hello? Is anyone here? I won't hurt you." Just then, I heard the sound of something move. No, I felt the wind from something move. It felt like it moved past me. Now that I'm standing in the middle of the room, it was something behind me. I turned around and I saw only a set of eyes in the darkness. I didn't know what it was. It was just standing there. I said, "Hello? Who are you, and what are you doing all the way down here?" There was no response. I was startled. Being startled, I walked a few steps backwards while never taking my eyes off of whatever it was standing there. I was almost at the doorway when I heard it speak. "Hi." I didn't know what to think. I heard the voice, but I still can't believe it to this day. I heard the voice again. "Hi." I then was in shock. I was just peering at whatever it was standing in the corner of that room. It spoke to me again. Who are you?" My name is James. I came down here. I was wondering why there was just a room at the edge of the park." It said nothing. Who are you?" "Oh, I'm just a nobody," it replied. "Well, that's not true. You have to be someone. So who are you?" The voice spoke back. Do you really want to know who I am?" I then thought for a second as to why that voice sounded so familiar. Then it spoke. My name's Mickey. Mickey Mouse." I didn't know what to think. No. You can't be Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse is a cartoon. He's not real. Do you like my clubhouse? Do you want to stay in my clubhouse, James? I don't know what to say. I just stood there, looking at him. I didn't know what to reply other than, I don't know. Just then, I heard a stepping sound. Just then I saw the eyes moving ever so close. I then noticed that the eyes weren't the eyes that were the size of the human being, but of a bigger creature. I realized that the eyes were about the size of a basketball apiece, and it didn't come to me that they were that big from that far away. I heard what sounded like a knife being picked up amongst other knives. Then it spoke to me again. Do you want to see a magic trick? I didn't reply. I'm good at magic tricks. I heard the sounds of God, flesh being cut into, and a horrible sound of tearing and mutilation. Tears ran down my eyes, and my breathing started to become really heavy. I couldn't do anything. I was froze. I couldn't run. I couldn't scream. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. Just then, I heard what sounded like a heavy object hitting the floor multiple times. I felt my own legs start to back up. It was my conscious, my body was forcing myself out of the room. Just then I felt heavier than any other time I'd been in the park. I didn't know why I was moving back. I knew I was stepping back, but I didn't know why. I wasn't giving myself the movements. Something wanted me out of there. Just as I had backed up, I hit the door that was across the other hall. I turned around and looked up to see what still bothers me to this day. The plate that had the name on it. The plate, what it said. I can't say it. I just can't. The plate said, James Burrowstein. My name. Just then, I heard a sound. And I wish on every single ounce of my entire will that I had not turned around, and rather just ran down the hall again and up the stairs and out of this I don't even know what to call it anymore. After I turned around, I saw it. Or at least what was still attached to it. It looked like a giant, human-like rat that had its long, rat-type muzzle. But instead of having all the skin, there was patches missing. Patches of skin missing. The feet were like rats' feet. They were sharp and bony and not human. It even had a smile. One of its eyes were missing, and the other was unlike any color I had ever seen in before in my life. To this day, I can't see the color, but in my head, I remember it so vividly. I was looking at a monster, and all it said as it was 5 feet away from me, and I regret these words so much. It told me, "I'm your old pal, Mickey." I don't know what it was, but in that moment, I immediately went from seeing a monster to closing my eyes and immediately opening them to seeing nothing but a stairway. I must have ran so fast that I don't even remember any of the hall, that I don't even remember going down the hall. I saw the door, and I saw it was still locked, and I had noticed something as I heard footsteps coming up the stairs that I had just went down, and I knew he was coming to get me. I quickly unlocked the door, and as I opened it, light poured into the room. As I looked back one last time, I saw its face at the top of the stairs. Its tall body was so tall that even down almost an entire flight of stairs, I could see its head poking up from underneath, smiling at me. And I noticed one last thing before I shut the door. Right above the stairwell, there was a sign hanging down. It said, Gateway to Hell.